West Virginia most likely looking for another conference. We shall see. Speaking of which, D-Rock Irish is very interested in this situation involving the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12. They had recent talks, so that's not rumor. That's been substantiated. They are talking. We don't know exactly what they're talking about besides an alliance. So to me, an alliance and realignment are two different things.
Absolutely.
Jason, when we talk realignment, if we're thinking that because of what the SEC's done as already the best conference, and then you add two major top 5 to 10 brands, that this would be a counter move if taken to the extreme. That would be basically saying we're going to get ahead of the curve and counter anything that you can do in plucking away Florida State and Clemson or becoming some kind of super conference. We're going to beat you to the punch and become a super conference first. So either they all three get together. The maximum possibility here is they all three to get together, and you're talking about 8 and 12 is 20. You're talking about no. I'm messing up the math here. The Big Ten and the ACC have 28 between them. So you're talking about 40 schools. Okay, so that's not a conference. Well, maybe in the future it is a conference, but the way I think about conferences, and then, or is it just kind of some kind of partnership involving scheduling? Because if it involves schedule, not to cut you off, Jason, just want to finish my thought. If it involves schedules, then what they're basically doing is kind of determining that we're going to play quality games amongst each other, and you would almost be shutting out the SEC, or there would be no reason to have a scheduling alliance.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It's not a realignment in terms of, let me say I don't know anything obviously for sure, but I don't think it's going to be a realignment as such as what Oklahoma and Texas did, certainly within the SEC. But I think it will be a realignment in terms of, to your point, Mark, a scheduling alliance. And I think a lot of this is about money, certainly to get a better, really a better chunk of the prize, because they understand, look, Oklahoma going into the SEC is going to get reportedly at least double what they make currently in the Big 12. So I think a lot of these schools in the ACC, exactly to your point, they don't want to get plucked, and I think they want to make it a little bit more lucrative for them. And I think part of this is also about, I think there's an idea that some of these schools, they want to block the playoffs from expanding. I think right now with Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC, and I think the SEC is over here saying, yeah, we're fine. Let's just stick it at 4. We're fine keeping it at 4. So I think at a minimum, this is certainly going to push back the playoff expansion a little bit. But I think it'll be interesting as the details come out. I think we've seen, this morning that, as early as next week or within a couple of weeks, there might be some news specific to that. But yes, to your point, Mark, I think it's specifically around scheduling, specifically around what are some things that we can do to compete with the money that the SEC is getting right now. And I think more than anything, I mean, we've talked about the future of the Big 12. I mean, the fact that didn't even get a seat at the table here. I mean, I think that speaks volumes on where they are at the future of it from a conference perspective. So, it's unfortunate. And so I know we've got some West Virginia people on here watching. I know we've probably got some Oklahoma State people, potentially watching. So it'll be interesting to see, exactly, what they do. I know that they're not going to. Some of those teams aren't going to want to, lay down. And now's not the time necessarily to be passive. But so what do they do? Are they a little bit more aggressive now, knowing that we're maybe for the short term, the next few years, the money's going to be the same, but 4 years from now, at a minimum, 4 years from now, their chunk of the prize is way, way down from what it was before.
Yeah, for those teams left in the Big 12, their football futures are on the line. Are they going to shut down their football program? Of course not. They're making too much money and they're too substantial. But from the standpoint of, are we going to continue to be seen as, and in the new reality going forward, the 12-team playoff proposal and the conference structure, are we going to continue to be a power program, or are we going to be a group of 5 program. There's going to be even more of a distinction between those two levels. Not that there isn't now. We've had 7 playoffs and nobody from the group of 5 has made it. Now that spot's going to be guaranteed as it appears in this new playoff proposal, but I don't think for those teams that have their sights set on, and maybe an Oklahoma State and a TCU, maybe that is an aspiration to get to the playoffs. Do you want to be fighting for one spot amongst 60 teams as opposed to fighting for 11 spots amongst 60 teams? Number one. Number two, just the money gap is enormous and will be even more so as we move forward. So they are teetering on the brink. Some very good football programs as in terms of staying with the big boys or being relegated to second division.